Johnny?
I'm doing good. What about you, Josh?
I'm doing good. I'll tell you what. I have this persona that I like to play off, that I am like this tough guy, that I never get sick. And I'm looking back, and I feel slightly under the weather now. I'm kind of on the mend, but it sucks, and I'm not very good at being sick.
I think you're suffering from a man cold.
Yeah, and we've discussed how terribly tragic these things are, and to have 2 man colds and within 3 months is pretty tragic.
So, actually, I think here's the thing. I think we discussed it, but that was on episode 2, and my mic wasn't working, but yours was. So, people don't really remember that because we switched it.
They don't know how dangerous this is?
Yeah.
Oh.
We got to talk about this.
We got to talk about this. So, look, I did not check my temperature at all. But I probably had about 108 fever.
I touched your forehead, and your forehead was burning. I thought your face was on fire.
Yeah, and you are, you've gone camping, so you know it's hot.
Yeah, I felt hot stones before.
You felt hot stones. You've been in the sun when it's hot. The ground's hot.
Hot coals.
Hot coals. You've walked on hot coals.
Yeah.
Have you?
No.
Would you ever do that?
Depends.
I don't know how they do that, because I know part of it's like this mental thing, but I've got to think that's going to burn the heck out of your feet. Now, maybe if you had like super calloused feet, you could do it, but I don't know how you just like, hey, I'm raw feet like Pam Beasley, and I'm going to do the fire coal walk.
I'd probably just like, it depending on how long it is and like how fast I am, I'd probably get a running head start,
What if you ate it?
Oh, that would.
You shouldn't do that. You've fallen a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, I have this man cold, and we have discussed, I've read some scientific journal articles that have compared man colds to much more severe pain than labor and delivery.
Yeah. I think you showed me that article, and it said that man colds are the most deadly diseases out there.
Yeah. It's tough. It's not easy. It's a hard thing to deal with, and I'm overcoming it.
And also only men can get it.
Yeah, and it's, again, it's one of those things. I've been suffering with it. Ralph's been dealing with it. Does he have a man cold or a boy cold?
I think he just has the common cold.
This is the common cold. He's not a man yet.
Yeah.
Ralph's not doing well, man. He's suffering.
Yeah.
But he's also like, look, I don't want to like call a kid out when he's suffering, but it's like, hey, drink more water.
Yeah.
Take some of the Chinese herbs that Renae's offering.
Yeah.
And do the things that, let Renae do acupuncture. Like she gave me acupuncture last night. I did those microcurrent treatment this morning. I got a Myers cocktail 2 days ago.
What is that?
It's like a multivitamin that they give you intravenously. It's like in your veins.
I thought you were talking about like a cocktail, like a
drink.
Yeah, a drink. I was like, Dad, you're drinking?
Yeah, when you drink alcohol, it's been known to weaken the immune system so that you can build it up stronger.
That makes complete sense.
So here's where I'm just stupid, right? So Monday afternoon, I kind of felt something coming on. Monday night, Tuesday morning, as I'm sleeping, like I'm feeling kind of crappy, and I'm feeling like some constriction in my lungs. Mm-hmm. But in my mind's eye, I'm like, all right, if I could just go to the gym and do my workout today.
Yeah.
Like that'll help loosen the lungs.
Yeah. That'll
get me, it'll heat up the body so it kills whatever, virus I got going on. And so that's what I did. I went to the gym and honestly, I killed it. Like I had a really good workout.
You're like, oh yeah. Flexing those muscles.
Yeah. And then I came home and, Ralph was done because he, I could tell he wasn't doing very well. And so I'm like, all right, well, let me stay home with him, since Renae has to go to work. And then as the day wore on, I was like, I'm not good. In fact, I probably should not have worked out. That was probably not very smart.
But, working out is always good.
I really am of the mindset that no matter how sick you feel, you should do some level of workout. And that can mean like I'm walking to the mailbox and back, but like you got to get a level of fresh air. You got to do something because you got to get that blood circulating. You got to get the oxygen moving.
So, funny thing, when I got home, you were a little delirious.
Yeah, I was getting... I kind of remember some of this. I know I was yelling at you a lot.
Yeah, so basically,
I'll let you go. I was yelling at you in love. Like I was trying to be funny. I don't know if you knew I was trying to be funny.
No, it was hilarious.
Okay.
So basically, I come home and then you're upstairs and I'm like eating food, doing some homework, and then I turn on the TV and I'm just like watching my show, and then I hear you like, Jonathan, and I come upstairs and you're like, and then I see Ralph and you laying on the couch, and I see a Smoothie King thing. Like just like a cup of Smoothie King, which is odd. You probably shouldn't be drinking cold smoothies when you're sick, Well,
it was kind of like it had like spinach in there. That's our excuse. I don't even know if those things are good for you or not.
Yeah, and so then you're like, Jonathan, feel my forehead, see how warm it is. And so I put my hand on the top of your head, and then I was like, oh, my bad. And then and then I just say, yeah, I'm pretty sure your face is melting. And then I go look at the Smoothie King thing, and I was like, can I have a sip? And then you guys convinced me that it's vomit.
Yeah, because it was green, and we're like, no, that's Ralph's vomit.
And I was like, oh.
But either way, you probably shouldn't have drank from it because Ralph had been drinking from it.
Yeah, I didn't drink any. And then you were sleeping downstairs, and then you kind of woke up a little because I was being a little noisy, and you're like, Jonathan, be quiet. And I was like, hey, Dad, can I go ride my bike? And you're like, yeah. And I'm pretty sure you didn't even know what I said, but you just said, yeah. And so then I went about riding my bike, and then I come back home, and you call me, and you're like, Jonathan, come home right now. And you're like, you sound a little delirious. I'm like, okay, Dad. You're like, it's time to come home. I was like, what? He's like, it's time to come home right now. And then, so I'm coming inside, and you're like, Jonathan, what are you doing? And then I was like, oh, I'm just home. And he's like, oh, okay, you're late. And then you're like, now go get me some food. And then I was like, okay. He's like, I'm hungry. And you're like yelling, I'm hungry. I want some toast. And I was like, okay. And then I got you some medicine, and you're like, then I go to give you your water, and you're like, how am I supposed to drink water when I'm laying down? and then you're like, he's like, let me get up. And so then you get up on your own, and you're like, yeah, I did that all on my own. Thanks for nothing. And then,
yeah, that's a jerk, man.
Yeah, and then I convinced you that watching TV always helps.
We watched 2 episodes of The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Both were very funny.
Very funny.
It was the Venus Gummy de Mayo one, and then whatever the one is that right after that. And the Venus Gummy de Mayo, I don't know, there was this whole Me Too movement a few years ago. And I feel like probably 30 years prior to this Me Too movement, The Simpsons called it out. It is like there's time when women are definitely oppressed and are taken advantage of. There's things that we shouldn't make fun of. But then there's also times where things are blown way out of proportion. And the Simpsons episode really made fun of blowing things out of proportion.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
But just agree with me and say, yeah, you're right, man. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, just different angle. I feel you.
All right, so earlier today, I was homesick.
Yeah.
I was on some meetings, some Zoom meetings or whatever for work, but then checking some emails, but I was just kind of sick. And so a buddy of mine had said, hey, which episode did you guys talk about power steering?
And
I cannot remember. So I was going back, listening to some of these old episodes that we've done, and I couldn't find a reference to power steering. I know we do have some loyal listeners out there.
Yeah. Huh.
And so if any of these loyal listeners, if you can help me find where we had talked about power steering, I would love for that refresher. I mean, again, I was kind of powering through at like 2.5 speed listening to these things. So I could have missed something. I was dozing off too because I'm tired and not feeling very well. Dealing with this man cold.
Yeah. I do not remember power steering. I mean, like maybe we got on the track of cars and like, that Mustang that you should buy.
Maybe it was that Mustang. I mean, it honestly probably was one of those.
Maybe he was just urging you to buy it because it's just such a good idea.
So I asked Renae, I'm like, do you remember this? And she didn't remember. But then she said, I do remember a story about power steering. So, and we'll talk about this. So think about this, like any road trip experiences that you want to talk about. So that I'll tell a story from Renae, and then this can lead into if you got any thoughts.
All right.
So Renee's family, when they would do family vacations, they would drive a 15-passenger van.
Ooh.
So their family's kind of like the Brady Bunch, where both the parents were widowed or widowers, whatever, and came into the marriage. And Debbie had 3 kids, and Mike had 2 kids, and then they had a love baby.
Ooh, fancy.
Fancy. And so, they had 8 people, so not a huge family. I mean, a little bigger than ours.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when they would travel, they would go in these 15-passenger vans, and they had a poop bucket.
Smart.
Maybe. Well, I mean, really.
I don't really know.
Look, when you're on a road trip with a bunch of little kids, especially when they're young, it is like this never-ending, I gotta go pee.
Yeah.
And so you're stopping on the side of the road, kids are peeing. And so their way to remedy that was, hey, we'll just put this bucket in the back, and then kids can go in the back, and then just go pee in the bucket. Not that big of a deal.
False.
Well.
False.
Why do you say false?
One, that bucket is not bolted in, and kids were, oops, I knocked down the bucket.
So they did something to secure it. And we have a bucket like that. We'll take it when we go camping.
Yeah, but I mean, I
don't think we've ever really used it because we want to avoid using it because then you got to clean it.
I wouldn't put that thing in a moving bus. And then kids also just where's the privacy? Just a bucket.
Well, they're in the back seat, right? And so there's not a ton of privacy, but it's you can see their head up. So it's minimal level of privacy. And nobody wants to look back and hey, what are you doing?
Are you using a bucket?
So almost inevitably, one of Renee's siblings would go back to go pee, and then they'd be like, oh, come on, are you pooing? I couldn't help it. And so then they had to deal with the stink of that, in the van.
Yeah.
So anyway, as Renee was recalling this 15-passenger van, she remembers her mom just grunting, struggling to turn the wheel.
What?
And Renee says, "What, Mom, are you doing okay?" And Debbie's probably a 35-year-old woman at this point, so she's strong. She's not like this.
She was also a bus driver, I think.
And she was a bus driver, yeah, so she can handle the wheel. And she's just struggling, and she goes, the power steering's going out. And I'll tell you what, if you've never driven a car without power steering, I don't know how much driving you do. You've done a little bit of driving.
Yeah, only a little bit.
But you take that power steering away, and man, it is hard. And especially, if you're trying to turn from a standstill, the car's not moving at all, man, it's tough.
I mean, I never drove in without power steering.
Until we buy that Mustang that doesn't have power steering.
I would actually, I don't know, I would save my money. My life savings, power steering.
My Volkswagen Bug did not have power steering. It had I can't remember what it was called. It had a handle on there, and it would fit. You could kind of cup it. It was on the bottom left, so if you're looking at the steering wheel as a time, it was probably in that 7 to 8 o'clock. It was probably about in between the 7:30 time frame. So you could hold on to that, so you could turn it a lot easier. You shift with your right hand, you're turning with the left.
Yeah.
And that made it really convenient. also Volkswagen Bug is going to be a lot easier to turn than a heavy car, if you got an old truck or something like
that. It's power steering make it so you making it turn the wheel easier, or just having it turn the wheel less?
No, it makes you so you turn the wheel easier. So just imagine it's you're doing bench press, but somebody's lifting half the weight for you.
Oh, okay.
So, it's like that. You're able to turn the wheel very easily because it's kind of machine assisted.
Yeah.
So anyway, any road trip memories from you?
I remember when we went to California and we had a big bus. And I remember everybody was just partying out on the bus. And there's Captain Crunch and Fruit Loops. And I was sitting up next to you because I took the bus with you, and nobody else, and everybody else,
all the cool kids wanted to be in the back with their friends, not with their loser dad.
Yeah, or their loser brother. Yeah.
Who's laughing now? We're the successful podcasters.
Woohoo! But yeah, that's one. And then I also remember very recently I went to the jazz thing, and we were on a bus. And everybody just started, there's, some songs that we just started singing. And we all knew it, I Have the Tiger or something. Or, some Taylor Swift stuff.
Oh, yeah, get you pumped up there. I like it.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of road trips. We like doing vacations. We're not, huge vacationers. I got friends who, they take their families to Hawaii or Europe. We don't do a ton of that kind of stuff. But, we've gone, recently, we're kind of a little bit different situation. But, we went to San Antonio. Yeah. I don't know if that's really a road trip because you fly. But like we are known to go down to California and hit up the beach, and we'll rent the 15-passenger van, take the other van, and then just, hey kids, invite friends and let's do it, and then make it a day trip. That's a pretty amazing thing to do. Pretty exhausting, but it's fun.
Yeah, I always love going to the beach.
The beach is a blast. If you're not a big beach goer, I don't know. I mean, whatever. It's beautiful.
You do you.
You do you, and yeah, we'll keep doing us. One of the things. So this is coming up here next week.
Ooh, I'm interested. What is it?
County Fair.
Oh my goodness, golly goodness, golly goodness, golly goodness.
All right. So we've talked a little bit about the county fair on this podcast. Was it the episode Things Aren't as Good as They Seem or whatever?
No, it's called That's Not Strawberry Jam.
That's right. On the episode That's Not Strawberry Jam, we share a great story about a funnel cake
at the county fair.
At the county fair that was topped, and it definitely was not strawberry jam on top of it.
Yeah.
We're not going to retell that story. You can just encourage you to go back and listen. But I don't know if you remember or ever heard this story about Aubrey and the pizza cheese eye.
Oh.
Do you know the story?
I know the story. I think you should tell it, though. I know it, but I'm just not that good of a storyteller.
So look, Aubrey, we love Aubrey incredibly. In fact, man, this past week we got word from Aubrey. She's on her mission.
Yeah.
Got robbed at gunpoint.
Scary.
Super scary. And here we are thousands of miles away from our daughter. There's absolutely nothing I can do other than pray for her and talk to her and tell her I love her.
Yeah.
But Aubrey has, she can be very dramatic at times.
Yeah.
Things can be very hyperbolish where they're either the best or the worst or the most amazing or the most awful or whatever.
Yeah.
So we're at the county fair. And we're getting food, and we're in that food court area, and there's all sorts of different items to choose from. And I can't remember if she wanted pizza. It doesn't really matter. Somebody wanted pizza, or we're walking past a place that sells pizza, and somehow a small piece of cheese, hot cheese, just taken out of the oven, pizza cheese, is a gust of wind comes, catches the cheese, and blows it right into Aubrey's eye.
What a shot. I mean, good aim.
Good aim. I mean, whoever, I don't know how things like that are controlled. If there's demons that are oh, this will be funny. Let's make this happen.
I think those demons were just teenagers.
Yeah. Or maybe it's just circumstance, right? It's just how things happen. But however it happened, I mean, Aubrey absolutely freaked out. She was acting like she had just got shot by a sniper. She's hand on the eyes screaming, ah! And we're thinking because we saw some bees, did you get stung by a bee?
In your eye?
Yeah, what is going on? And I mean, it takes us about 2 minutes to get her to stop screaming full lung. People are looking at us is that guy kidnapping her?
Be quiet.
Yeah, shut up, girl, let me take you. But anyway, it takes a while for her to kind of calm down, and we realize, okay, you got cheese in the eye, and then we're okay, let's help you get this out. We're putting some water in her eye, and then we get this piece of cheese out of her eye. It was pretty dramatic.
I just feel dramatic circumstances. I think we've talked about this. Disneyland, when that girl was screaming and what a reasonable person would do, take a picture of that one lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do not like tantrums or just people screaming in happy places.
You're not a big fan of flair for the dramatic.
Yes.
So last year when we went to the fair, Ralph threw up.
Yeah, and you took a picture of it.
I did, because that's a classy thing for a father to do. Your son's feeling terrible. He's about to just relieve himself in a public area where people are kind of walking, by the way.
Yeah, and he didn't really, want to hide it. He just kind of threw up in a certain plot that wasn't really close to the fence. It was kind of near the middle of the road. Yeah,
I mean, Ralph kind of is that same vein of Aubrey where he can be very dramatic.
Yeah.
At times, and we love him for it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with how he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what was that ride called that you guys went on?
Oh, it was I don't know what it was called, but
was it the Twister?
No, it wasn't Twister. It was it looks like a UFO, like a saucer, and then it's metal, and then you walk in it, and you just lay out kind of flat, and then it just spins very fast, and then it feels I think it's gravity or something, gravitonish.
I think it's Gravitron. Yeah. So is that the one that did you guys in? Because there's another one. So there's the Gravitator, But there was another one, and maybe we just can't remember the name of it. It was like on this arm-like device, and you would spin in a circle, and it would go like the pirate ship where it's rocking you back and forth. Very high, by the way.
I remember. I remember when I used to be a wimp and I was a suck up when I was like 5 years old and stuff like
Or
that.
12.
7 years old.
Last week.
Dad. But basically, I went on the pirate ride and I was scared out of my mind, and I was just hugging onto the rail thing, and I should have been, man, this is fun, and this is
It tickles the belly.
Yeah, I like that tickle in my belly.
You like the belly tickle?
Yeah, like.
Oh, dude, as I get older, I can't handle these things.
I love, like, Guardians of the Galaxy, the drop.
Oh, man, yeah.
Ooh, gives me a tickle in my tummy, and I love it.
So, we name our kids different things, and I think it's interesting. So, like, Addison's middle name is Olive.
Yeah.
And, there's an olive branch, which is like a sign of peace, and Addison, for the most part, is a peacemaker.
Yeah.
Aubrey's middle name is Apple. And the apple is a symbol of health. What's interesting, we can make this into our sponsor moment, is Aubrey is the reason that Renae got into Oriental medicine. Did you know that?
Yeah.
So she'd been sick as a toddler, like when she was like 1.5, 2, like she would get sick all the time.
Yeah.
And to the point where she would get sick, it would turn into bronchitis, turn into a breathing treatment, get antibiotics, and then she would clear up, be good, and then rinse and repeat. Like she'd be good for about 3 to 4 weeks, then whole thing all over again. Yeah. And it was miserable.
Terrible.
And doing these breathing treatments. And I remember one day coming home and Renae was like, I can't take this anymore. Something has to change. Like I need to go to work. I can't do this. And so that's how she got referred to Dr. Fowl. Like a friend from church was like, you got to go.
Yeah.
So Renae had been having some health issues herself leading up to that. And so, she goes to Dr. Fowl, and after one treatment of laser acupuncture, Aubrey's healed.
Okay, now, for those of you that think what laser acupuncture think, what you're thinking right now is not what it is.
No, dude, it totally is. Like, you take out, like, this Jedi blaster, and, like, she just got shot.
No, that's exactly the opposite.
You're right.
So it's kind of like, it's like a little, like
a ballpoint pen kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like a ballpoint pen, but then the point of the ball is a little larger and it vibrates. And it's, I don't know what, something like a little like energy, electricity, something goes through it. I don't really know what it is, but yeah.
I've told Renae, like, we're going to have her on as a guest. And she said, I'm not very funny. I said, well, Jonathan and I can make up for that.
Yeah.
But so we'll have Renae on at some point. So anyway, after one treatment, Aubrey's healed. And so Aubrey Apple, Haldeman, like, bam, symbol of health. And then that got Renae on her health journey where, she's, now where she is, Doc R. Haldeman sponsoring this podcast, treating all sorts of maladies. She told me today that she has a bunch of women's tennis players coming to see him because they have like wrist maladies. Their right shoulders and elbows are kind of bugging them. And so they've been going to see her and they're getting a lot better.
Yeah. Also, if you go see Doc R. Haldeman, just mention the podcast.
Yeah, just say, I've listened to the podcast, love it. She might give you a discount. Well, I don't know. She might not. I'm not her. I don't run her business.
Yeah.
So anyway, going back to names, our youngest son, we've name dropped him a few times. His name is?
Ralph.
Ralph.
His favorite thing to do is?
Ralph.
His hobbies are?
Ralph. He'll get sensitive on this one, and we apologize, Ralph. But look, we're low on material right now, and so this is what we're coming up with.
Yeah, so basically, one time, I remember during San Antonio, Ralph was throwing up.
That's right, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and then during this carnival trip, Ralph was throwing up.
This week he's sick, and he's been throwing, like he has hardly eaten, but he is throwing up a ton. And I'm like, how are you throwing up? But it's like bile, because I don't think he likes blowing his nose that much. Oh. And so I think he just swallows it, and then he pukes up his snot.
He hates blowing his nose. I mean, like, it is crazy. Like, I am a professional nose blower.
I don't...
Look, and then just...
We're going to have you blow your nose one of these times on the podcast. Your nose blow is like cartoonish loud.
It's like...
I mean, it's loud, dude.
It's like a train horn.
Seriously, it's funny how you do. And do you blow your nose like that in public?
No. I blow my nose normally in public.
All right, but just you save the best for those you love the most here at home.
Yes.
Like if any of us are sleeping and you're blowing your nose, we're not sleeping anymore.
Oh, in the nighttime?
Yeah, did we hear you blowing your nose? Yeah, actually, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude, you're loud, man. You're like shaking the house. Windows vibrating.
Earthquake!
Yeah. No, Renae, it's okay. It's just Johnny blowing his nose.
Oh. Yeah, but I remember also we were in I don't know, we're in California somewhere, and
I think it was Huntington Beach.
Yeah, Ralph was he's like, oh, I don't feel that good.
Yeah, and it's like just kind of like on the, bam, like there's no warning with it. It's just.
We went to like this new, it's like, it's Down Yonder. It's like a new
Down
egg place.
Yonder.
Like
the breakfast place we went to for Addison's graduation, Aubrey's graduation.
Yeah, and then Ralph after that, he just throws up. Oh, also right
in San Antonio, also he did that.
Yeah, and also Down Yonder over there too. He also threw up outside of Cafe Rio.
Did he really?
Yeah, I remember that. We went to Cafe Rio one time, and he just.
That's right. Because he's like, oh, I don't really want to go to Cafe Rio. I'm like, dude, whatever. Just shut up. I don't want to cook tonight. We're going. It was the day after the day of my CrossFit competition.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I'm not making dinner. Renae was out of town, so let's just go. I don't care.
Yeah.
And Ralph's like, I don't like Cafe Rio, and I'm like, whatever, dude. I'm getting like a bunch of points for going this weekend, so we're going.
Yeah, and
he puked in the parking lot.
It's so fun. Yeah, you never really realize it unless you think about it. Ralph throws up so much.
Yeah, and what's funny is like I'm the opposite. Like I'll know if I just throw up, I will feel better, and I'm like, I don't want to do it because I hate that feeling of throwing up where you feel like your brain's about to come out of your nose and stuff.
Oh, I threw during the gallon challenge. That felt amazing.
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, shout out to Tim Adams, listener and provider of content. We now have an episode that talks about power steering.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Tim.
Hopefully whatever we said was as profound as you remembered it the first time. And if not, hopefully our loyal listeners can find the episode where we did talk about power steering.
Yeah. So we got to do quote of the week right now. And so the quote of the week is actually from Homer Simpson. And it says, that. No, I was just grabbing the gummy Venus de Milo that got stuck to your pants.
And that's from the episode that we watched, which, I mean, I'll tell you what, it's a great episode.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, but yeah, it's good.
It's a classic. That's one of those that I just remember watching a lot when I was a kid. Okay, my old man moment that is frustratingly not yet sponsored by Old Spice.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what they're waiting for. We're obviously moving the market. There's been a strong uptick in purchases of Old Spice in Utah, Idaho, and Nevada.
Yeah.
Also correlating at the same time we said that this podcast was potentially sponsored by Old Spice. So maybe we need to stop saying sponsored by Old Spice. Maybe we need to start saying like, sponsored by Dove. And they're like, well, right now we're getting all this free pub.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe this segment formerly potentially sponsored by Old Spice, but now in the future sponsored by Dove.
Ice cream. Yeah. So, yep, that's about it, fellas.
Well, I didn't do my old man moment yet.
Oh, my bad.
There you go. You got the old man moment. You didn't even let me do an old man moment. That's how old you are.
No, that's called young man moment, and I was speeding stuff up because I didn't want to wait for the elderly.
Yeah, it's called young man moment, saying, I'm sick and tired of you, old man. Get out of my way. So my old man moment is I was able to sit up on my own to take some Chinese herbal medicine.
While you're delirious?
While I was delirious and shouting at my son named Jonathan that I love.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for listening. We appreciate it.
Bye.